this is a first-time listening, thank you. Whether you're in Birmingham, whether you're in Atlanta, whether you're in Gainesville, Georgia, Athens, Georgia, Nashville, Tennessee, or on iTunes or iHeartRadio, anywhere in the country. We've gotten calls from Philadelphia, from Okeechobee, Florida, anywhere in the world. Well, the Car Deal Guys are here to empower you for when you buy your next new or used vehicle. Skip Sushi to my right. He's a former car dealership principal, owned a car dealership for years. Now he owns a consultancy that helps car dealers maximize their customer base and get a lot of customers.
That's good? Exactly right. And on my left here, I got Darren Sutherland.
Yes.
And he's the radio. He's the radio man in the CarDealGuys, and it was his idea. And he came to me about a year and a half ago, and he said, what if we had a radio talk show that helped consumers? And I said, golly gee, that sounds like a great idea. But what about, why me? And he says, well, you know something about cars. And I said, okay.
Yeah, and he does know a lot about cars. And where a lot of on-air personalities will tell you, don't buy a new car because of this. Don't buy a used car because of this. We're going to give you the exact reason you should do something and be very, very transparent with it. Correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And maybe we're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to give you the information so that you can make a good decision.
Now let's go to Craig Field's Kia Atlanta South News. Skip, what you got going on in the automotive
Well, let's look at automotive news in the world today.
Yes, what's going on?
Honda spoke this week, and it means something to you. So those of you that are import buyers, specifically Honda buyers, think up to this. And this doesn't just affect Honda. Honda announced that exporting cars to the United States was not profitable for them. And what that means is that at this point in time, the dollar to yen, there's 80 yen to the single dollar, is making it unprofitable for Honda to build cars in Japan and export them to the United States.
That's it.
Yes. So does that just affect Honda? No, that affects all the Japanese makes. What the good news is over 80% of Honda's production is made in locally or in North America right now. But you need to be careful when you're looking at a car to see where it's produced, whether it's produced in Japan or it's produced in North America. And the way you can look at that, Darren, it's real easy. You can look at the VIN number.
Right.
And if it starts with a J,
yeah,
it was built in Japan.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What if it starts with a V?
Starts with a V, it's not a car.
That's made in Venezuela.
Yes.
Or the Vatican, it's a blessed car.
Back in the news, Hyundai has announced pricing on their two new Elantra models.
Yeah.
Hyundai's Elantra model is their second highest selling nameplate. The two new models are a two-door coupe and a two-door, a five-door hatchback. They're starting under $20,000. They're going to compete with things like the Civic. They've got nice equipment, and Elantra is really, really selling well for Hyundai right now. They've sold about 80,000 models year to date, and that's significant. So look for that new model, the two-door coupe and the five-door hatchback in the popular Elantra model.
No doubt.
Okay. Pole position.
Pole position. That was a video game made by Atari years ago.
The pole position in the 24 Hours of Le Mans is maintained by an Audi right now, and what's significant about this is it's an Audi hybrid.
Right.
There are hybrids being raced right now at Le Mans. And what's so significant of that for our listening audience is Le Mans-style races are closed-wheel races.
Okay, and now what's closed-wheel? Go ahead.
Closed-wheel races are where there's fender skirts over the wheel.
Right.
You know, it different than open-wheel races like the Indy 500.
Correct.
And what's significant about that is closed-wheel races, typically the technology you see in those closed-wheel races shows up on the street sooner or later. Okay.
What else we got, Skip?
Well, I've got one more thing.
You've got a plethora of information.
I've got a plethora of information. NHTSA NESTA, National Highway Safety and Transportation Administration, is looking at some Jeeps right now. About 5 million Jeeps are under study. These Jeeps are models that are affected old Cherokees, Grand Cherokees.
I had one at one time.
Yeah. They're looking at some rear impact crash results, and they're talking about fires. If you've got a 96 through 2001 Grand Cherokee, or a Cherokee, or a 2001 through 2007 Liberty, you might go to the website, National Highway Safety Transportation Administration website .gov and look at that. They're concerned about the placement of the gas tank behind the rear axle.
Let me ask you this. Now, this is just a silly question, I think. But, I mean, they designed these things years ago.
Yes.
Why wasn't they concerned about the placement of the gas tank when they designed them?
Well, sometimes those concerns are prioritized, and safety isn't the top one. Think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
It isn't always in the position.
I hope they don't do that with airplanes.
Well, positioning of that tank there is, just a little questionable. Anyway, Chrysler says they're safe. There's been some examples of it. The court is still out on that, but it needs to be examined.
Let me throw a question out there to you. I know we've got some more news, but I want to throw a question out there about gas tanks. When I was a kid and you were a young man, gas tanks were all behind the license plate on the car. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When did the first gas tank go to the side? Do you know?
Well, when they started worrying about rear engine, rear end collisions.
I understand that, but what year was that?
That was the whole issue with the Pinto.
Yeah.
That was the whole issue. I'll look that up for you.
Look that up for me. I know I'm catching you off guard with that.
You've got to look at it. Your question is a little bit too broad in scope.
Yeah.
You're saying in all cars. What maybe the question needs to be, what was the first car?
Well, maybe one of our listeners know that answer. 888-670-9488. 888-670-9488 is the number. Keep on going with the news, Skip.
And the human interest story of the week.
Human interest story of the week.
7-year-old Max Page.
Max Page, good little kid.
Mini Darth Vader in last year's Super Bowl commercial with Volkswagen. Yes. I know you all saw that.
You saw that he was the little guy with the
the Force.
Luke, I am not your father.
Yeah, that was just that commercial grabbed a lot of social attention. Max has underwent heart surgery this past week. He's fine. It was the surgery is tetracardia of Fallot, which is a pulmonary valve problem, and it's not unusual for these people to lead a long, productive life. And he's a little star. He's on soap operas and everything. It's
So now you say these little people.
He's 7 years old.
He's 7 years old.
7 years old.
So he played Darth Vader. Now he plays in soap operas also.
Oh, you've seen it. You've seen this commercial. It's really cool.
Well, I've seen the commercial. I'm just wondering.
He tries to get the dryer to work. He tries to get his dog to do something.
Yeah.
And then his dad flips the
I always
remote
wanted to be
start.
on Days of Our Lives when I was a kid. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I never
Bo
did.
and Hope and all those folks, you know. Patch. You remember Days of Our Lives?
You spent too much time with your grandmother.
That's it. Oh, man. Well, hey.